Welcome back, everyone. If you've made it this far and your head hasn't exploded from the ignorance, bad arguments, and deliberate dishonesty needed to try to prove a flat Earth, I tip my hat to you. Before we dive into the final part of this series, I'd like to say thank you for watching, and if you haven't seen the previous 3 parts, I recommend watching them in order to try to get a better understanding of the video being reviewed and what's going on. Now, hang on tight, because we're going to run for the finish line here. Well, how the hell else should they depict all the continents of a 3-dimensional globe on a 2-dimensional surface like a flag or a wall logo? If there's some grand conspiracy to hide the flat Earth, why would they show it to everybody?
When I look at the people who signed the Antarctic Treaty, and all the nations that were down there doing whatever they were doing signed a treaty, and I believe it was 1958 or somewhere thereabouts, saying, nope, nobody can stake a claim to Antarctica, and if you're going to go down there, you can only go down there for scientific reasons under carefully restricted guidance. But it's not a free-for-all. Nobody can just, hey, I'm going to go check out Antarctica and do a high jump of my own. No, can't do it.
It's the only treaty that's all these countries have signed and never broken and completely agreed on. It's the only one. What treaty is there that everybody's agreed on? We're being kept away from it for a reason. They have some scientific bases there, and literally it's controlled by the military because they don't want you finding out what's beyond.
Okay, well, first of all, if you're going to comment on something like this, you should probably take the 10 minutes to look it up and read it. It was signed on December 1st, 1959 by Argentina, Australia, Belgium, Chile, France, Japan, New Zealand, Norway, South Africa, the USSR, the UK, and the US. Since then, 16 other countries have gotten involved and signed it. The treaty does not prevent anyone from going to Antarctica. It sets up Antarctica as a place for peaceful scientific research and exploration. It prohibits any countries from staking claim to any portion of the continent. It prohibits, quote, any measure of a military nature, such as establishment of military bases and fortifications, the carrying out of military maneuvers, as well as the testing of any type of weapons, end quote. It also prohibits nuclear explosions and the disposal of nuclear waste. It also sets up the abilities for countries to do inspections of the other countries' stations and equipment to ensure compliance with the treaty. As for people not being allowed to go to Antarctica, well, that's just bullshit. Down in the description, there are links to 2 travel companies that will take you down to Antarctica for as little as $5,500. There's also a link to the United States Antarctic Program where you can get a job and go work down there. All those stations are like small towns and need all the things that a small town does. You can get a job doing anything from hospitality, food service, truck driving, electrician, mechanic, and the list goes on. Why don't flat earthers take trips or go work down there? Oh, I know. Because it'll fuck up their narrative, and if they bury their heads in the sand and just keep pretending and saying that you can't go down there, it wasn't a continent, then they can't see for themselves that they're wrong. And since all military maneuvers are prohibited, they can't stop you from going there. There's not some fleet lining Antarctica, because that would be in violation of the treaty.
During 3 voyages lasting 3 years and 8 days, Captain Cook and crew sailed a total of 60,000 miles along the Antarctic coastline, never once finding an inlet or path through or beyond the massive glacial wall. So the other question is, well, how come ships don't go off the sea if it's flat? How come ships don't fall off the edge? Well, here's why you don't fall off the edge. There's a 200 to 300 foot high wall that is the border that Scripture says is keeping everything in.
Cook didn't find a passage to the South Pole or into Antarctica because the South Pole is in the middle of a continent covered by a fucking glacier. This guy essentially is saying the Earth is flat because Antarctica is covered by a glacier and the South Pole is in the middle. It would be like saying the Earth is flat because he can't sail to Nebraska. Here's another little tidbit that flat earthers like to lie about. Cook did sail around Antarctica. The key word being around. He didn't sail in a giant loop around the inside of some ice wall on a flat disk. In the description, I included links to his ship's logs and another that has a picture of his map of Antarctica. And some of the locations of note on the map are written by Cook himself. And guess what? His map and documentation of Antarctica are exactly what we see on a globe. Just one more flat earther lie.
Nothing's going past that.
Because they don't want you finding out what's beyond.
Sorry, but showing pictures of a glacier isn't evidence of an ice wall. There are plenty of pictures and videos of people at the South Pole and in the middle of Antarctica, but absolutely zero evidence of an ice wall of any kind. Just one more flat earther assertion with nothing to back it up.
Personally, I think the unconquered south face is the only one worth scaling. It's a 20,000-foot sheer wall of ice, but that's never stopped me before. Risk? Of course I'm aware of the risks. Thank you for your concern.
Here's the picture of the Earth from space. There it is. Since you were a kid, you've seen this image. But you've never seen it from that point of view. You've never seen that with your eyes from that scale of a model, that point of view, from outside of the planet's surface. Well, here's the first image that sold the whole thing. 1482. This is when they came up with this idea. We are on that thing. It's a ball. Hey, we should go to the North and the South Pole. We didn't do it yet. It's a fucking ball. Hey, nobody's even jumped up high enough to see if it is a ball. We can't do that. We don't have planes yet. It's a ball. You know what? We adopted this whole model 400 or 500 years before the airplane.
Oh, so now they're going to use this fucking lunatic. Go check out his channel. It's called the NASA channel. And he's also on the Behind the Curve documentary. This guy is a complete nut job. So his assertion that in 1482 the idea of the globe was invented is completely false. As we discussed in part 1, the Earth was shown to be a globe long before then. You all know how they figured out and confirmed that we live on a globe long before we could even go to space? Real science and real experiments. Experiments not designed to show the Earth is flat or a globe, but experiments designed to find out the shape and size of the planet. They were designed to discover and not to prove something. Turns out what they discovered was that we live on a globe.
400 years before the airplane, pretty much. Beginning in the 1900s. They went to the North Pole in the 1900s. This is 1482. Nobody went to the top of the globe, to the bottom, or flew up, or built a skyscraper. It's funny that we said that this is what we're in right now. This is what we're on before any instrument approved. This is the first time we actually had an instrument of flight to actually go high enough to actually fucking check out if what we agreed to 500 years ago was real. So if they were wrong after 500 years, the question is, would they tell you?
Yeah, why not? Science is always refining, discovering, and learning. For example, some of what we thought about physics and motion that we learned from Newton were shown to be incorrect by Einstein. People had taught that for about 500 years before it was shown to be wrong. The changes were made, and now we have a better understanding of things. Just because flat earthers refuse to follow the evidence doesn't mean that everyone else does too.
Newtonian physics, why objects move on a ball spinning 1,000 miles an hour while it's going 26,000 miles around the sun. Basically the model we're accepting right now.
The sailor thinks that he's traveling around the Earth this way, when in effect he's traveling around the Earth this way.
They began flying it around the world, from Abu Dhabi last year, with stops in India and China, then across the vast Pacific.
Does running around your neighborhood prove that the neighborhood is round?
I was an airline pilot for Delta for 26 years. A pilot's primary flight instrument is his artificial horizon, which he has to be maintained level to keep from climbing and descending. From a cockpit, weather permitting, I could see hundreds of miles in all directions, viewing cities connected by roads across the flat plain as far as the eye could see. Nothing ever leaned.
If a pilot is flying around the curve of the Earth, then he should be dipping the nose down every 5 minutes. He should be dipping the nose down to stay around the curve.
Well, first off, I'm sorry, but a sailor, especially a captain or navigator, is going to have a much better understanding of where they are, what they're doing, and how to navigate the ship than some supposed teacher who doesn't have their skill set or knowledge of their jobs. That plane shown in that global news clip was the Solar Impulse. I'm not sure what they were thinking or trying to accomplish by showing this news clip. The flight path on the Flat Earther map laid out like that is a little bit deceiving at a glance, but if you check it out and check the link down in the description and look at the map, you'll see that their flight path stays pretty much close to a straight latitude. There is nothing flat earthy about that flight path. So, this supposed pilot, who is he? How can we verify who he is and if he was even actually a pilot? The claim that a plane should have to dip its nose every 5 minutes is just fucking stupid. First off, you can't put a time on something like that because it would change based on things like speed and altitude. Second, how would you even notice any change when you're maintaining an altitude of, I don't know, let's say 30,000 feet? There's constantly small adjustments being made. Consider this. You're flying a 747, which is 250 feet and 2 inches long, at 30,000 feet and making a full circumnavigation. That gives us a circumference of 24,935 miles, or 131,661,886 feet. Are you going to notice a dipping action when you only take up 250 feet out of that 131,661,886 foot circle? Absolutely not. That dipping argument is one of the dumbest I have ever heard from flat earthers.
That's absolute proof that a plane flies over a flat surface rather than a curved one. But I went to the manufacturer of the artificial horizon, and they confirmed to me that it's completely mechanical, nothing electronic in it whatsoever. So it's literally just a gyroscope that can freely move. That right there is proof to me that planes fly over a plane.
Well, going back to my previous statement, how much change does this person expect to see in a gyroscope when the plane is only taking up 250 feet of a 131,661,886 foot arc? Also, he's talking about mechanical gyroscopes, which aren't as precise as the ones used in modern commercial aircraft. There's a reason that mechanical ones aren't used in commercial aircraft anymore. Oh, and speaking of gyroscopes, What about Bob Nodell and his $20,000 ring laser gyroscope that proved the Earth's rotation in the Behind the Curve documentary? If flat earthers want to talk about gyroscopes, maybe they should address that.
Flat Earthers, it's time. We are going to destroy the Globeheads' arguments concerning flight routes.
When you go onto the plane tracking software, you'll see hundreds and hundreds of flights over the northern hemisphere, and you can track those flights from beginning to end. When you look at any flight in the southern hemisphere, what you'll find is the flight takes off and disappears off the tracking. And that only leaves why.
Where exactly do they disappear off the tracker? Here are a couple of screenshots from the same sites used in this guy's video clip. I'm not seeing an issue. And here's a screen capture of me checking out some flights and destinations. Nothing out of place here either. Now, there's also a little problem of flight times. The flight times that we have fit perfectly with the globe, but would fail miserably on a flat Earth.
Why have they done this? What's the point of this grand deception? I think Eric Dubay explains it best.
People are always asking, why do they do this? Other than the obvious profit margin motive, NASA being the biggest black budget black hole in existence, sucking in over $30 billion taxpayer money for the fake moon landings alone. Nowadays, hundreds of billions of dollars, and not just NASA, but RASA and all the other fake space organizations around the world, giving CGI images for hundreds of billions of dollars.
You want to put something in context. If you want to do something with $3.5 trillion, you can do whatever you want. Whatever you judge to be important to the profile of the nation that you are trying to build and to sustain.
So what would be the point of giving that kind of money to an agency that, according to flat earthers, doesn't do anything? If they want to claim that it's somewhere for the government to hide money, there are plenty of other ways that the government can hide money and not have to go through all the trouble of creating a space agency. Also, here's more of that CGI shit. I don't think Eric Dubay would know CGI if it came up and kicked him in the taint. More claims and assertions, no evidence.
So by surreptitiously indoctrinating us into their scientific materialist sun worship, not only do we lose faith in anything beyond the material, we gain absolute faith in materiality, superficiality, status, selfishness, hedonism, and consumerism. If there's no God and everyone's just an accident, then all that really matters is me, me, me. So they've turned Madonna, the mother of God, into the material girl living in a material world.
It's all about making us feel nothing, so that we can be used. If everybody realized how special we all are, how unique every single life is, then this whole world would change overnight. We wouldn't allow ourselves to be used by this cabal.
So basically, the globe Earth equates to slavery, selfishness, greed, and the flat Earth means people would be the exact opposite of that? Huh? What? Why? Because reasons? How does human behavior have anything even remotely to do with the shape of the planet? We also get more of this religious nonsense. Just one more reason flat earthers won't change their minds. It's a religion to them.
I start from the supposition that the world is topsy-turvy, that things are all wrong, that the wrong people are in jail and the wrong people are out of jail, that the wrong people are in power that the wealth is distributed in this country and the world in such a way as not simply to require small reform, but to require a drastic reallocation of wealth. All we have to do is think about the state of the world today and realize that things are all upside down. Now, if you don't think, if you just listen to TV and read scholarly things, you actually begin to think that things are not so bad, or that just little things are wrong. But you have to get a little detached and then come back and look at the world, and you are horrified. Now, as soon as you say the topic is civil disobedience, you're saying our problem is civil disobedience. That is not our problem. Our problem is civil obedience.
How does a political statement by Matt Damon have anything to do with the flat earth? More of a non sequitur and appeal to emotion, if anything else. Not an argument for the flat earth, and totally irrelevant to this topic.
I think all our society is run by insane people for insane objectives. You know, and I think that's what I sussed when I was 16 and 12 way down the line. But I expressed it differently all through my life. It's the same thing I'm expressing all the time, but now I can put it into that sentence that I think we're being run by maniacs for maniacal ends, you know. If anybody can put on paper what our government and the American government, etc., and the Russian, Chinese, what they are actually trying to do, you know, and what they think they're doing, I'd be very pleased to know what they think they're doing. I think they're all insane. You know, but I'm liable to be put away as insane for expressing that. You know, that's what's insane about it.
Well, everyone, there you have it. Wrapped up with more political conspiracy and a political statement, but nothing in regards to the shape of the Earth. So, over these 4 videos, we have seen assertions, claims, fallacies, lies, deceit, quote mining, and in general a whole lot of bullshit. What we haven't seen was any actual evidence for a flat Earth, a firmament, an ice wall, gravity not existing, the military keeping people out of Antarctica, or any of the other ridiculous claims flat earthers make. Not one photo, not one video, not one verifiable, reliable source. Meanwhile, I've provided logical arguments, reliable sources, and facts which disprove every damn claim made by the people in this video and the idiot that put these video clips together to make this video. Well, that's it. That's all I've got for you. If you like my content, please subscribe. Check out my Teespring store. As I mentioned before, the money, if I make any from that, will be going towards equipment and production costs so I can make better videos for you. Also, I enjoy your feedback, so please leave a comment and tell me what you think. If I'm right, I'm wrong. If you liked it, if you didn't, say hi, whatever. With that being said, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.